Who is Armando Broja and what can he bring to the West London based club Chelsea Football Club? Let's discuss. Okay, so Broja began his football career with Burnham Juniors. He then went on a few trials with Reading and Fulham before signing with Tottenham Hotspur and joining their under 8 selection. After a 2 year stint at Tottenham, Broja joined Chelsea's academy in 2009. The young Albion moved to Southampton following a successful loan at Vitesse Arnhem, where he netted 10 times in 21 starts. It's often said the central forward's position is a 28 or 30 years position. It's arguably the most unforgiving position on a football pitch, and obviously you know how true this is. The rule of a crowd as you miss chances, the berating of your coach as you aren't reading the pressing triggers, the frustration of your teammates as you lose the ball or burdens, heavy ones at that. So obviously, there's a lot of demands, there's a lot of intensity and pressure on the striker, literally and figuratively, in terms of them having to produce and they have to finish the chances that are given to them, and as if those chances are effective and goal scoring opportunities. So if they miss them, then they won't be easily forgiven, because especially if the team loses after that, it's something that you cannot, forgive, because you will look back at it and you will start to remember these opportunities that your striker had to score. But reductively, the weight of the results rests on the forward. The most often tasked with putting their side ahead. What makes Broja so good? What can he bring, like I said, to the West London-based club? Firstly, Broja, as many of his club predecessors before him, is a physical phenomenon. He stands at 1.91 meters, which essentially, if you look at it in terms of feet, it's 6'3" with long, powerful legs and a stride that allows him to accelerate and decelerate instantaneously. His large quadriceps and broad shoulders allow him to act as a focal point if that's what his role requires. So obviously, the first bit we can grasp from this is the fact that Armando Broja is quite tall, and he has large quadriceps and he has broad shoulders that allow him to act as a focal point. And we've seen him struggle a little bit when he's running with the ball, and that is to use his body as a cover or as a shield, quote unquote, for the ball when he's running and he's pressing forward. And now we've seen in the past what he can do in terms of accelerating and decelerating, and he has pace on him. He's a very quick but tall player, and that is a mixture that is not really that common in a common day, where you have these tall strikers and they have that pace, because normally their long feet would be a disadvantage to them, because it means that there's less availability for them to run quicker with their feet because of how long it is. But with Armando Broja, it's something that he's never lost, despite growing very tall. So in a sense, it's something that when you look at it, it's really impressive. Like I said, however, his speed and more importantly willingness to run in behind with angled runs off the shoulder or between a pair of centre backs means he can serve as a more traditional striker. Broja's tendency to be involved in play varies. He's comfortable with limited touches, but equally as comfortable dropping deep and connecting play to wait for a cutback. So essentially, this is practically you looking at the fact that Armando Broja is a player that, if it comes to that, he's willing to be a part of the play. Something that has to happen these days. With the evolving of football, you need each player from player 1 to player 11 playing their part. The goalkeeper has to play their part, not only by saving shots, but also being able to play the ball from the back and slowly playing in, and you do counters. That's how the football is evolving, and it's been like that for many years. But these days, the striker has to be coming deep, dropping deep, and that is why you have deep lying forwards or deep lying strikers that they come deep, and that is why the false nine system is becoming more and more common in so many teams, because it gives them less predictability, and it also involves them having somebody who drops deep, creates it, even in some instances win back the ball, and forms that counter attack. So there's a lot of positives. Bro has physical qualities make him an all-around forward, winning 4.27 aerial duels per 90. And I'm just using the statistics of what the internet says as well, per 90, which places him in the 80th percentile. Broja has the physical and technical traits needed to be a star, and he's learning how to show with those. So essentially, he has the potential to be that clinical player for Chelsea. He's still very young, and it's important to note this. And he's still learning. He still has a lot of things that he needs to learn. But at the moment, for many Chelsea fans, especially those who are fond of the academy, they will look at the fact that this player has been at the club for essentially 12 years, 13 years, and it's quite easily for you to get over yourself and say that this player is going to be fantastic. There's no guarantee of it. Anything can happen, unfortunately, in the life of football. But the signs that he gives, the impression and the impact that he makes each time he comes off the bench for Chelsea, it's one where you can say that I'm excited for the future. And Broja gives you that feeling that if he gets proper management and proper coaching, he can be that player that saves Chelsea essentially money in terms of getting that big striker. If they can get him and develop him, similar to the situation of a Harry Kane, where joined Spurs is team first team in 2012, and from then on he became the talisman, and being the top goal scorer most of the time, and evolving over a period of time, and scoring goals and getting assists and things like that. It is being said that he's quite similar to Diego Costa, and similar to Harry Kane in terms of his instinctiveness and his initiative and what he tries to do to get past those defenders and the midfielders. So I guess in that sense, if you can get Broja on the highest level that he can get to, it benefits Chelsea in the long term, because they won't be looking to sign a striker and then the striker fails, you have to sign another one. If you have a Broja where it's constant and it's consistency that you want, you have him. But essentially, like I said, his performances yet again receive rave reviews from Chelsea faithful who want to see the Albion given the chance to play this season. So he hasn't really started games, but the season is still long. Injuries can hit at any moment, and you need to rotate. There's a lot of games for each player to play enough minutes and sufficient games. So obviously, Chelsea fans are desperate to see him play because of the impact that he makes when he comes off the bench. Chelsea have average odds at 525 to win the Premier League, which I don't really think really matters right now. We should be taking it step by step. But essentially, when you look at the odds that Manchester City have in terms of Erling Haaland scoring and breaking records, it is becoming an uphill battle. It's becoming something that if you don't work at the highest level, you have to accept that you're going to be second best or second fiddle. So a Manchester City team that has a striker that is clinical, who have creators that can actually find him with those passes, and he knows how to be instinctive and get into those areas that can get him goal. So essentially, too many times forwards who move at a frantic paces translate that proclivity in front of goal. Roy is not one of those forwards. His calmness and tendency to know what he wants to do is a very rare cognitive and technical feat. The ability to speed the game up physically when bursting past an opponent, but slow it down when setting sights at goal is invaluable. Not uncoachable, but certainly has some interesting feats. So essentially, when you think about the whole profile and the analysis of what Broja can do, it's all about being able to time his run, be able to decelerate and accelerate at the very moment that is necessary. And we've seen that in many instances where when he scored a goal against Crystal Palace, his first ever goal for the club as well, not Crystal Palace, forgive me, when he scored his first goal against Wolves, that's the game, Wolves, what we saw, Kovacic made a pass to him, but he was running with great acceleration at that time, but he was able to slow himself down, keep himself onside, because we've seen, especially for those who watched him at Southampton, where he would get into those spaces and he could use intelligence to get past those defenders, but sometimes the passing of his runs would be off. But what we saw, for Chelsea fans against Wolves, the pass was made to him by Kovacic, but he was able to decelerate, slow himself down, keep himself onside, and then after receiving the ball, add some acceleration to it, cut in, and then make that pass made that shot correction that went straight past the goalkeeper, and simple as that, it's a goal for him and it's his first ever goal. So there's a lot of positives when you look at it and when you analyze the profile of what Broja is. He's a traditional striker at best, and we know this, and this is why some people will say that. And then I know some people don't really like this name being mentioned, but I have to mention it because it's still fresh. Where Tuchel wasn't necessarily fond of a traditional striker, which is why he wanted an Aubameyang is more of a striker that can go wide, play wide, and perhaps Armando Broja would suit that profile, because for those who know him, and I'm also telling you some more profile about him, Armando Broja, since his youth days at Chelsea, and even before that, like I said, he was at Birmingham for a while, and then he went to the Tottenham youth team as well. He was utilized as a wide player as well. So sometimes he'd be the striker, sometimes he'll be the winger or forward, depending on what you want to use, or that wide forward. So as a result, it allowed him to be able to have that versatility, allow him to still play whilst another striker plays centrally. So what that does is, it does mean, and it's something that would include experimenting, where you try an Aubameyang and a Broja up top, if needs be, where you have two strikers, quote unquote, with one being able to drift wide and the other one coming centrally, and then they role switch where you have the other one playing wide and the other one playing centrally. So it helps with unpredictability, and that's what you want. You don't want your opponents to say that, okay, if the plan is to get the ball to Aubameyang because Aubameyang is the more experienced one. If you're able to find a way for Aubameyang to link up well with Broja, obviously, like I said, it's experimenting. You can see a difference, because then teams will go into games saying, what will he do? And considering the profile of a Graham Potter, who, when it comes on to opponents, the opponents don't know what to expect, because he's very unique and he sets up his team in a way leading up to what game it is and who the opponents are. If it's an inferior opponent, then he may not underestimate them, but he'll also try to find the best way that, because they're how quote-unquote inferior they are, they'll be hungry and desperate to get a win or to get a result. They will try to do the best, and that's the positive. And Broja may have become lucky, because Tuchel wasn't fond of using these traditional strikers where they're centrally and you have to find them. He liked everybody playing well, despite Broja having the capabilities of doing that. Broja's profiling probably wouldn't have been Tuchel's preference in terms of a long-term striker. He liked him in terms of his goal scoring and his aggression and his desperation to score goals and his connection to Chelsea, but there was not much significance in terms of what he could do. But that's the end of the video. Like and subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Road to 400. Stay safe. Keep the blue flag flying high, and let's see what happens in terms of every other fixture that comes Chelsea's way. Peace and cheers.